small wonder won't be seen tonight, so we could bring you a very special episode of The Gen X Files. Welcome to The Gen X Files. I'm Jim.
I'm Adam.
And today's show is all about the birth of the VCR, the video cassette recorder.
Take yourself back to 1970. The voting age just got lowered to 18.
Thanks, Nixie.
Yeah, one good thing he did.
Yeah, I guess. Well, there's the China stuff, too.
Yeah, well. The Beatles were disbanded, according to Paul McCartney.
Oh, I thought he died.
Much to Ringo's surprise.
I thought it said Paul was dead.
He is dead.
So that's the fake Paul.
Yeah.
That broke up the
Yes.
Beatles. So it wasn't Yoko, it was the fake Paul.
It was the fake Paul that broke
good.
up the Beatles, yeah.
God, we got that cleared up.
And the Apollo 13 mission had their accident, and everyone on board almost died.
Yeah, and,
We could have lost Kevin Bacon, and that would have been sad.
and Tom
Hanks?
I was going to say Tom Cruise, but Tom Hanks, yeah.
That would have been a very different movie.
Yes.
But more importantly, 1970, the VCR was created.
Yes.
It was originally created for a TV station, so they could start using tapes. Because back before that, it was a lot of weird magnetotrons.
Do you
and,
know
like,
what
weirdness.
TV station?
It was somewhere in like Philadelphia.
Yeah, so it was just like an affiliate?
Yeah.
It wasn't like,
Yeah,
like
it
a
was
big
just-
thing for
It was somebody
NBC.
that, yeah. I worked at a TV station for a while, and the guys that do the technology there are weird.
Yeah.
Like, they are the nerdiest of the nerds, and like,
Yeah, that's universal with any profession.
It was, yeah.
Always get to know your IT guys.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because they're the
they will
most
save your
important
life
people
one
to know.
day.
Yeah, exactly. And they're also awesome.
Yeah. So in 1972, they decided to go to mass market. It was Philips developed the original VCR.
Emo Phillips?
Yeah, Emo Philips. Yeah.
Emo Phillips? Yeah, that's the worst.
I don't know.
Nobody
Yeah.
knows who Emo Phillips is. I apologize.
They used square tapes, and they were a half-inch tape.
Oh.
So like it wasn't like the rectangular thing that we're used to. It was a square tape. It was actually two reels stacked on top of each other.
Interesting.
And but they were a half-inch each. It was really expensive in 1972 and did not take off whatsoever.
Oh.
It wasn't until later, but more interestingly, was in 1972 was the advent of the Avco Cartivision, which is something that did not last very long, but it was fascinating.
Well, okay. Do you want to know what the first tape released in 1972 was?
What was it?
It was The Young Teacher, a South Korean film about a teacher who's organizing a volleyball game to get the self-esteem of all the students up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was probably played on the Avco Cartivision.
It was, yeah.
It was a combo TV VCR. Cost $1,350.
Good Lord.
It was the first time that tape rental was available. Like it was essentially like Netflix.
Yeah.
You had a catalog. You would send in your order. They would mail you a rental, and then you would mail it back.
Wow, that is so
swear-
funny.
yeah,
I wonder
it
if Netflix...
It's fascinating. It was also the square, like the VCR, the Cartivision was the two reels stacked on top of each other.
Yeah.
But it could record up to 114 minutes, whereas the VCR could only do 60.
Interesting.
And the way that it did that, to me, again, maybe I'm the tech nerd here, it would only record every other frame and then play each frame back 3 times.
Weird.
Which I tried to find like actual footage
Sure.
of it to just see what it looked like. I couldn't find any, but it had to have not been viewable. I just don't understand.
So they had cameras for this as well, right?
No, not at this point. No.
Okay.
No.
So they didn't have
just,
any
yeah.
sort of cameras available to record to?
No.
Okay.
No. That was not until later. But there were major movies that were released, like Bridge on the River Kwai, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner.
What year is
were
this?
Available 1972.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. There was lots of sports, travel, art, how-to topics were available for purchase. It did eventually, in 1973, they did have a monochrome camera that they were allowed, that they would sell to go with the
Yes.
Cartivision. The Cartivision was sold through Sears, Macy's, Montgomery Wards, Monkey Wards. The
big three.
And after 13 months, it was discontinued because of poor sales.
Well, I mean, it was so expensive, and it's
was
like,
really
what
expensive.
are you going to do? Could you record on it?
Yeah.
Okay, so, like, I get it. So it was just like, really rich guys getting it.
Yeah, it was $1,350 back then, which I mean now, God knows,
Oh, yeah.
it would be a lot.
It's like $5,000.
It was a lot. So it seems that VCR Philips, they learned from that, and in 1975 they released a newer version of the VCR.
Yes.
There were 6 major firms involved in the development of the VCR: RCA, JVC, Ampex, Panasonic, Sony, and Toshiba. Panasonic, JVC, and Sony led the field. It was that time where everybody was trying to like latch onto this technology,
Yes.
and so it was heavy competition.
It's like anything when it gets when there's a new technology like tape or DVD or whatever. There's going to be competing versions of it.
Of course.
Betamax versus VHS, and then like HD DVD versus Blu-ray.
Yeah. But Panasonic, JVC, and Sony, they developed more
DivX. You remember
technically
DivX?
advanced machines. Yeah, I remember DivX. Jesus. Just shout things out, Jim.
DivX.
The reason that they were better was because they had more accurate electronic timers, so you could set it to record stuff, and
Which is really
they had
cool
greater
at the
tape
time,
duration. Yeah. I mean, the whole idea was. I remember my very first VCR. It was a manual, like it wasn't digital. You had to like set a time, and it had an internal clock, and then eventually they had digital timers and things like that.
And so they were selling for like $1,000 to $1,400 a piece, which I looked up in today's monies would be about $4,444 to $6,222 in today's. So that's still like
That's expensive.
That's a car, you know.
It's expensive. By 1979, there were 3 competing technical standards. All 3 of the companies had mutually incompatible tape cassettes because that's the way it works. The industry
Somebody always gets boned in these wars too, you know. I got stuck. I got the HD DVD. I have one of those sitting around somewhere.
Oh no, you've got yeah. I had one for my Xbox.
Same.
Yeah, I'd never bought any actual HD DVDs.
I did, but they were. I thought the quality was better.
The quality was great. Yeah, the industry boomed in the '80s as more customers bought VCRs. By 1982, the stats I could find, 10% of households in the United Kingdom owned a VCR. By 1985, it was 30%. So it was climbing. It was definitely good.
I remember when the old man brought home a VCR, and it was one of the first VCRs. It was like this giant. It must have weighed like 50 pounds.
Yeah, the top loader.
And that spring-loaded top loader.
Yeah, it would shoot out.
I would put like my action figures on top of it, and just like see how like I could launch them across the room, popping that thing open. But he also ended up getting 2 VCRs.
Oh, of course.
And then when we would rent movies, he would make copies.
Yeah,
I can say that now because he's
pirating,
dead.
Pirating.
And he can't be prosecuted. But
don't pirate. We're not. Yeah.
And I remember the first movie that I rented because he would, he would rent movies and then we'd watch them. And then I remember we had there was, this is way before Blockbuster and all that. We had just like this indie video store.
Oh yeah.
That I just remember the first time walking into it, the smell. I still remember the smell.
Yeah.
Of all the boxes, and just walking around and seeing all of these movies. And you got to know that up until now, most of the movies we saw were cut because we saw them on TV.
Yeah.
And they were all cut for content and cut for time.
Well, that's part of the reason that VCRs took off. Because it was the only way you could get the original movies.
Exactly. Unless you saw the movie in the theater, you're not seeing the actual movie.
No, because they would cut it for time. They would cut it for content.
Exactly.
So
I remember the first movie I rented was the animated Lord of the Rings by Ralph Bakshi.
Oh, really? Nice.
And I remember, like, I think it was a TRC movie or something, and I remember the logo at the beginning.
Yeah.
And everything about it. And it was just like having that thing in my hand and getting home and popping it in. It was my choice, my first movie, It was one of the greatest experiences, of my life. Honestly, of my childhood, honestly.
Going to the video store and having your parents go, yeah, you can choose something, was the greatest experience.
100%, yeah.
I get that power? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And that's the other thing, too, is the control, We finally had control over our Friday nights as kids, It's like, oh, well, let's go rent a couple movies and grab a pizza, and some soda pops.
100%.
And then and great for the parents, too, because it's like plop them in front of, the sack of
go do your thing.
VHS tapes, some
go
popcorn.
Look at the electronic babysitter.
But yeah, I mean, it was a life-changing event. Was the VCR? I mean, it people don't understand how incredibly life-changing that was. Not only because of getting to watch uncut movies anytime that you want, but also the fact that if you missed it, you missed it back then.
Yeah.
If there was a big thing, Roots was on, you had to be in front of the TV watching Roots.
Maybe a rerun, but not.
Maybe.
But not.
And you
really.
never knew which one they were going to rerun, and they didn't rerun all of them. The summer only has so many spots, right?
Right.
So now you could actually see something without having to be there. And that, again, you don't understand how freeing and huge that was. I mean, the VCR was amidst for our generation.
So there were two major standards that grew out of that: Sony's Betamax and JVC's VHS.
Did you ever have a beta?
No. No, we never did. We were straight VHS. But that is, those two became what became called, excuse me, those two, yeah, had a mini stroke. That became what was known as the format war.
Yes.
Format war was huge. Betamax was first to the market by Sony in November of 1975.
Well, now, is that the first real format war? Because I know, there was like records and there's reel-to-reel and there's cassettes, but everything had its own. They weren't competing against each other. They just,
you could say that like cassette tapes and 8-track compete, but they didn't. I mean, 8-track came and went, and
they
cassette
both
tapes
were
kinda
there
took
for as
over,
long as they needed to be there. They weren't like trying to push.
No, this was the
out
first time that it was two formats. Like
only room for one tape in this town.
Technically, Betamax was more technically advanced, had better recording quality.
Yes.
The first machines required an external timer, could only record 1 hour or 2 hours at a lower quality, the LP quality.
You know what the problem is with all of this technology is, who decides who wins?
Who?
Porn.
Yeah.
Well, the way of the porn is the way of whichever one's going to win. And didn't porn go to VCRs because it was cheaper?
Yeah, well, yeah, it was easier to produce. Yeah.
Than Betamax.
The rival VHS format was introduced in the United States in July 1977 by RCA. It had a longer 2-hour recording time with a T120 tape, or 4 hours in a lower quality long play mode.
Ooh.
And eventually they got up to like 8-hour tapes.
Yeah,
and even some 12 and 16-hour
Oh my
tapes.
God,
But the quality was atrocious.
And then they went to an HD VCR.
Yeah.
They had so many different gimmicks to try to save the yes.
Yeah.
I had one. I had an
VHS. I sold a lot of those when I worked at Kmart.
Best Buy too.
Yeah. In 1978, the majority of consumers in the UK chose to rent rather than purchase, which is why the
machine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the whole deal, is that the machines were expensive. So
Sure.
they cost $1,300. So you would literally rent them for the weekend.
Yeah.
You'd spend $20 or whatever. You would get your machine, get your movies, keep it for the weekend, bring it back on Monday morning.
I mean, we'd still do that in the 80s. In college, we didn't have VCRs, so we just go down to the video store, rent a VCR and some tapes.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like, it's perfect.
Even though it was great for the audience, it was great for the consumer, the U.S. film companies fought against the VCR so hard.
Of course. It's scary. Everything new is scary.
They were concerned about copyright violations, and it took 5 years. It was in 1980 that they sued, and it took 5 years. Eventually, it got to the Supreme Court.
Of course.
Sony Corporation of America versus Universal City Studios, Inc., and the Supreme Court decided that the device was allowable for private use.
Nice. Finally, all of our stepdads were gonna go to jail if that could have gone the wrong way.
And then, of course, what did the film companies decide? Oh, hey, we can make money at this.
Derp.
Yeah.
What?
Much like it's the same when the cassettes came out with audio. The music industry is freaked out, or with Napster and this digital format. They
Anytime
freaked out.
it gives control to the consumer is a danger for the business, I suppose.
Yes.
Whatever, the corporation. You know how long a VHS tape is?
2 hours?
I mean, like if you took the
Do you
tape
mean
like the actual physical tape.
How long is the tape, Jim?
1,410 feet.
That's like from here to the moon.
Well, yeah, it's about a quarter of a mile. But yes, it's
the best though about the whole wow, goddamn!
I threw you off
today.
with my.
The best part was Jack Valenti of the MPAA saying that the savagery and the ravages of this machine was like the Boston Strangler. This is how much they hated it.
Wow, there's no hyperbole there.
No, Jack Valenti.
Totally making your point. Well, Jack Valenti was like he was a controversial.
He was a villain.
Was he?
Yes.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
Yeah, he probably
yes. The video cassette recorder remained in home throughout the 80s and 90s, despite competing technologies like Laserdisc and VCD, the video CD, if you remember that. They also had the SVCD. Yeah.
There was all sorts of there was all these gimmicky.
They tried all these things. Yeah.
Laserdisc lasted for a while because the quality was so good.
Yeah. In an attempt to lower costs, eventually manufacturers began dropping non-essential features from their VCR models. Mm-hmm. It literally became the remote. It was on screen.
Yeah.
There was no buttons on the front anymore. It was literally just to eject or stop and eject and play.
Well, I remember a few years in the 80s, like, I don't know, maybe 81 or 82, I conned my folks into getting me a video camera.
Oh, yeah.
And the way that I did it is I was like, I'm going to make money with it. And one of the first things I did was I started a business, and this is like 12, I think, doing virtual tours for real estate, because my mom was a real estate broker. So I went through and did a demo tape of, I videotaped all the rooms and the walkthrough of everything, and I was like, this is going to be brilliant. It's going to cut down on time. You don't have to drive it, because my mom, you get in caravans. You have like 5 or 6 people in, you go to house to house to house. That's the way it was done back then. And I sold like 3 because A, I was young, and B, people, again, but now everything. So I just wanted to brag that I pretty much invented virtual real estate walkthroughs when I was 12. Sure you did. So, my mom can brag about that.
All right. Well, let's jump to a promo, and we will have an interview with a very good friend of ours.
Oh yeah,
who is the most passionate person about VHS I've ever seen.
Biggest tape head we know. The brilliant filmmaker, award-winning filmmaker, Miss Jules Brudeck.
We'll be right back.
Our very, 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 very special guest today is the award-winning filmmaker Jules Brudeck. Her current documentary, Disarm Hate, which is amazing, and I don't just say that because I was a tiny bit a part of it, is available now on all platforms. It is really, truly a life-changing film.
It's amazing.
And her Queer Aspie doc, My Life with Asperger's, will be coming out later this summer. She's amazing. She's a really great friend, and she's a huge tape head. Our beautiful, wonderful friend, Miss Jules Brudeck. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm here to talk about Slabs O Analog.
Yes.
So, Jules, I'm sure you probably grew up in a house that had a VCR the whole time, right?
Yeah. Well, so I had a dad who was really into newfangled contraptions.
Cool.
So we went through the Beta Max.
Yeah. You did the Betamax. Wow.
And then we went to the VCR, and the VCR that we had was like huge. It was like, the one that took up the size of the room, the way like computers were.
Yes.
It's like, where do you even? It was a top loader. It was gorgeous.
You couldn't get your hand near it because when you ejected it, that thing would fly up so fast it could take out a finger.
Yeah, and it was just beautiful. It was like heavy as sin.
Yeah.
So
ours had like fake wood paneling on it.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Classic.
And so I look for those top loaders. I mean, those among collectors, by the way, are considered like holy grail shit. Like
really?
Yeah, you want the ones that work well, that have no built-in obsolescence, like the ones that came later on. I mean, I have like 5 different VCRs, and I just switch them out so they don't get.
Oh, so you don't use them too much?
Because once they go obsolete, you find yourself in a quandary, because I'll be at Goodwill's, estate sales, looking for a replacement for my 4 or 5, and I will just it's not like you can just buy any one. You take it home, it doesn't work, or there's something wrong with the connection, and so these aren't things that are being really developed well anymore.
Right.
So
what do they go for? Like, how much do you spend on a used VCR?
Well, I love the Goodwill ones that you can't return them if there's anything wrong, and sometimes you don't get a chance to fully use them. So if you're at a Goodwill that doesn't have a VHS tape to test it, you're shit out of luck. But you got to take a chance because it's a Sony and it's good, and so it's like you'll set you back $20 at the Goodwill. Now on eBay for a good one, like one of the ones I'm talking about, like a top loader, you'll really, people bid, people want them. And then they're just a pain in the butt to ship. So we're looking at
40,000 pounds.
Oh my God. So I'm thinking like 80, 100, $120 if you want one of those good ones.
That's not too bad though. And as an avid collector, why wouldn't you bring a tape with you? Just,
Well, because sometimes, yes.
Busted.
You should. But I'm saying to you that sometimes I'll find myself at the Goodwill when I didn't expect it.
Well, of course. That's where most of us find ourselves at the Goodwill. It's just like, how did I get here?
And I really don't want to buy any more tapes, so you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, how many tapes do you have in your collection?
Well, I would say the last time we counted, it was probably about 3,000 something.
Good
Wow.
I
Lord.
don't think that's a lot considering I have friends who
Yeah.
have like in the 10,000s.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. That's
How
that's
do they have like entire houses for their tapes? Like that seems like a
Well,
lot
I
of
have this
space.
one friend. He's got a whole Blockbuster what is it, reimagined in his basement with the
Wow, really?
shelving.
oh wow.
Yeah, it's really
Wow.
cool.
That is super cool. Is that
That
your
would be
dream? Is to like have your own kind of Blockbuster room?
Actually, it is like to have like
yeah.
somebody's version of a man cave, but it's like all the tapes lined up. Um, I see, when the Criterion has somebody over, is it the Criterion where you like pick out what you want and it's like in that, I don't know, it's like an archived room
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
where,
yeah,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like there's all
Yeah.
these shelves to choose
Yeah.
from, and they have like the actual film prints on the shelves all lined up and like glistening. And
Oh, yeah.
I would love to be able to catalog my tapes in that way. I've never been able to do alphabetical like I wanted, or any type of system that I can
Oh yeah.
really, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I've done it with sections. So it's
Right,
like,
right.
oh, this is every single John Carpenter film and release that I own. Like, there are
Right.
3 different releases to Escape from New York that I have prized. One's
Nice.
Embassy. One is, if I can remember correctly, is an earlier Embassy. And then the most recent, which isn't an embassy at all. I'm trying to remember what it is. I think it's, oh God, help me. Anyway, I have all 3 of those. So
Oh,
those are like
nice.
Wow.
older releases. So that's what I do. I collect, a certain director and all the releases of a certain VHS tape.
Well, that seems like a smart way to do it because that keeps you focused.
Yeah.
Instead of just like I'm getting everything.
Yeah, buying random. Yeah.
Because that would be.
Oh my
That's the
God, and
ultimate goal.
Yeah, and the media, which is Meta, MEDA, when it first, media VHS tapes, when they first came out, it was Meta, and there is a Meta Halloween
Ooh.
out there that is, worth thousands of dollars. That is the last version of Halloween that I need.
Oh,
wow.
interesting.
I used to manage a video store in Boston.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and we had the pornos in 2 milk crates that were exactly where I would put my feet up on the desk while I was waiting for people to come. So I had to watch every single person pick out their porno, and it was at the same time fascinating and horrifying.
Oh my God, I love that. I worked at video stores too. That's why my production company is called Sticky Box, because people would return their soft porn, hardcore porn, and I would have to clean the boxes.
Yes, it's disgusting. You knew something was up when they brought it in a bag. It was like,
Oh my God. They
Here
were
we
just
go.
so sticky. I don't know if people just.
It's disgusting.
I had
gross.
this huge vat of alcohol and
Yep.
those cosmetic pads just right by the chute where the return chute.
Yeah.
So
Wow,
I
that was
was
a-
like,
Ooh.
oh my God, I would just clean those off, and I had gloves on, and I was just,
Ugh.
one
what are
day.
they doing? How is
Yeah,
it getting
why-
all?
I don't know.
mean,
It
what
could
are they
just be
doing?
that they're just disgusting.
They
I
just
have no idea. Like
eject it without washing their hands.
they would come back like sticky fingerprints all over it.
Oh,
Like when you see the actual
yeah.
fingerprints
Yeah, that's a little much.
That's
in in a slightly translucent, like off color, like a brown or a.
yellowish.
I was just like, I'm a forensic operator. I'm not a rental manager of this store. I mean, it was terrible.
You're like putting glue next to it so it would define the actual prints. And,
But it's my best times in my whole life.
oh yeah.
There is nothing I like better than cleaning a tape off. I mean, I know that sounds weird.
No, but I get it.
It's your passion.
So that's
I get
why
it.
I'm
Yeah.
Sticky Box. I have these.
Well, I love physical media. I have a lot of DVDs. I just found some old VHS that I have a bunch of. I have a all of the first, I don't know, 6 or 7 seasons of The Simpsons that I recorded on VHS. But the quality, it's just, there's nothing like watching a VHS movie to kind of bring you back, to your childhood. It's just like, I love the quality, the lo-fi of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, yes. There is an aesthetic, and I believe that horror films are truly scarier with that aesthetic. Like
100%.
I was watching a cleanup on YouTube. They took like an old VHS of Halloween, and it was one of the not good times, but it was one of the like cheaper versions of the movie that they released in like the 90s. Remember where you could go to Hollywood Video and you would have Halloween and you could buy it and it had like Blockbuster. Yeah, I think it was the Blockbuster. Yeah, so like they took one of those and then they took the new 4K transfer that I believe was done by, I want to say, Scream Factory.
Okay.
So they put them back to back, and you obviously have so much detail that has, been just beautiful detail in like his shirt in the darkness. I'm talking about Michael Myers.
Right.
And like the little wrinkles in the mask. And I'm looking at both and I go, no, not as scary.
No. Well, do you think part of that is we were scared as kids watching those on VHS, so it almost brings back that kind of visceral feeling of, that quality is kind of embedded in our brains?
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And I also think that the low quality of it, it's not like when you watch things on HD on your big TVs now, you see I think the absence of detail or the absence of something, it's so much scarier. It's so much more mysterious.
Well, yeah, like Jaws, that not seeing the shark is scarier than seeing the shark.
Less is more.
Yeah.
For sure.
Especially in horror movies.
And I don't know about you, but when you watch Jaws 1 through 4 now, and you see it I just watched it recently, you can tell, and I don't know if it's because I'm older or because of, like I said, the quality has been enhanced so much. I can see that it is Bruce the mechanical shark.
Yeah. Well, this is a little off topic, but we're watching Buck Rogers in the 25th Century right now. The old TV show. I don't know if you ever saw it with Gil Gerard.
I haven't, but I do know of it.
Yeah, you should watch it. It's amazing. But because they've remastered it now, it's like you can see the wires when they pull him up. He's supposed to be like, whoop, there's the wires
flying,
and like the buckles. It's like
line.
You are absolutely right on, and that's the same thing. You can see where the mask begins and ends with certain things that you don't need to know it's a mask. I just watched another horror film that I had recently seen on VHS, and it ruined it for me when I saw it on the big screen at my house, and I had purchased it from, I think it was Prime. I wish I could give you what it was, but my partner and I were watching going, oh my God, that looks so phony. And we had just seen it, over Halloween, and it was like, it was amazing. So it's like, it's something to be said for lower quality, I think.
Well, they were shot 100%. For that too. They weren't shot to be shown in HD. That's like, it's almost like cheating the viewer out of what the director's vision was in a way.
I was watching Buck Rogers and my girlfriend Phoebe came in and she was like, this is lit so terribly. And I was like, it wasn't designed for HD. It was lit to be crappy. Like that was the whole point, is it was supposed to hide mistakes.
Right.
And,
flaws. Hide flaws.
Yeah.
And that's the aesthetic that I think VHS still captures, with Ring You and Ring. I mean, they have this VHS tape, they put it in, it's scary. It's the same thing as like we would go and rent, and we weren't so, I think, technologically savvy as a culture either.
No.
So it's a really, really wonderful time in my life, and I feel so attached to that slab of analog because of what it does for me and what it does for so many people. Like, this group of VHS misfits that, I go and see at VHS swap meets and VHS museums, like it's the same crazy Fraggle Rock. It's like, you know what I mean?
But it's a community. You're a community,
Yeah, and it's like the craziest, like offbeat characters.
Weirdest people.
Yeah, but it's cool because it's like the people that collect vinyl.
Yeah, but like with vinyl collectors, because I happen to collect vinyl too, but it's more about audiophile or audiophilia. Like they seem to really appreciate. I mean, with VHS, you cannot say it's of,
It's for the
you know
quality.
what I
Yeah.
mean?
It's
Like
better
we're all
quality,
looking
it's
at
better.
each other going, well, I don't know why we collect this. Like we're all
Yeah.
just
Well, I guess it'd be more like people that collect 8-bit video games and, that kind of thing where it's just,
exactly. It's
yeah.
like, why are we? We're all like bedraggled and like come in and like we're got like somebody's dog-eared VHS cover and we're like, I don't know why I've been looking for this for 20 years, and I think it does come more to a sentimentality than a quality, that I think vinyl. It would be like somebody collecting cassette tapes, which I do too, music cassette
Oh,
tapes.
nice.
There's no reason to really want them. I mean, they are awful. I mean,
Sure.
so it's the same thing with VHS. Like it's like you have so many better versions of whatever it is you're collecting. We had the DVD. We have
Mhm.
now the Blu-ray. Now we're going into 4K, 5K. I mean, there's
Well,
no reason to collect VHS. So that's where we're all at. We're like, yeah, there is. And the thing I wanted to tell you is the people that collect VHS, and I don't want to speak for them because they would probably be like, shut the F up. Um, but there is this time in, I want to say, the 80s where the VHS market was swamped with covers that didn't portray the movie
Oh
correctly.
yeah, 100%. Yes, yes, and
Do you know what I'm saying? So
yes,
you would see this badass brain attacking this like shirtless woman,
yes.
or you would see something so great. You take it home, the movie was a piece of
Oh
garbage.
yeah.
So
Well, that was the
there,
bait
and
and
these,
switch. They did the bait and switch, where because all you would do is just wander the aisles like a zombie,
yeah.
like looking at covers, and and then exactly you'd be like, oh my god, this is so badass. That guy's got a sword and there's a dragon, and and then you take it home and the dragon's this rubber puppet. you know?
oh my God, and there are so many like that where I just wanted them because it looked a certain way. But
Same.
the collectors, because a lot of these were released on video and not theatrical releases, these have now gone for a lot of money. These are the
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
titles that are now being made by Vinegar Syndrome. They're being you know what I'm saying? Severin. These
Severin, yeah.
Blu-ray companies, have now gone and found the ones that now they were holy grails or prize collections among us VHS collectors that now they've tried to find the original reels, clean them up. I mean, one of them was Edge of the Axe. I don't know if you
Oh,
guys saw that. It was
no.
recently put out by I want to say, was it Vinegar Syndrome?
Not
So
sure.
anyway, this was great, and it was one of those things that had this amazing cover. It looked like Jason, but it was a different kind of mask, and it said "Edge of the Axe" in these really beautiful 3D letters,
It's a cool
and we were
title.
just And the movie, I mean, it's good, but it doesn't have what the title suggests. I mean, it leaves a lot to be desired. I still love it, and I still get a kick out of it when I watch it. But what I'm saying is these covers and what they had to do, they made so much money in the 80s from the home video
Oh
market.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because they would also pick up these titles for nothing, because
Yeah.
they were these old. A lot of them, the stuff that I saw would be like, 50s movies or 60s movies that people had forgotten about, and like you said,
Yeah.
they just put this crazy thing, and then you're just watching this garbage.
Exactly. And, I'm still like really, really after the VHSs that have footage that are not available on those
Right.
DVDs or
Yeah.
Blu-rays. And they're really catching up now. So it'll be, probably a short period of time that they'll have, crossed all their T's and dotted all their
Right.
I's, gotten us all, up to speed. But, something like Hellraiser 3,
Hmm.
there is an unrated version that I have the rated version and the unrated version on VHS. The unrated version has about, I want to say, 5 minutes of footage not contained anywhere.
Nice.
Wow.
And I
Wow.
think recently they did a Hellraiser box, and I think it's an import. I think you can collect it there, but if you don't have a region-free Blu-ray, you're still not going to
Right.
see that footage. So,
Right.
I mean, that's the other thing. And then the Scream, I don't know if you guys remember when Scream was released. They had a couple of different covers where you could get Nev on one
Yeah,
cover, you
yeah,
can get
yeah.
Courtney. Well, it also has about 5 minutes of extra footage that none of the
Wow.
Blu-rays, I'm not Blu-rays, sorry. I think maybe now Blu-rays have caught up, but the DVD releases up until just recently had not had. So
That's
the only way to
crazy.
get that extra footage was by owning that VHS tape. So that's what I'm after.
Yeah.
And
Well, that's
I
what's
have
cool
all,
about
yeah.
it. Yeah, is having these. That's what's awesome is that there is that extra something that makes it different and makes it unique. You know, that you have to have it to complete your collection of that movie. I
Yeah,
totally
yeah.
get it. You know, because you do want every version. You know, you do want to have the option to watch that 5 minutes that probably was cut for a reason. You know.
Absolutely. Here I am collecting VHS tapes, and I want to tell you, I've been doing it since, I was a youngster. And mostly when I became an adult, I went back to buy all the VHS tapes that I didn't have the money to afford when I was younger. So it's
Oh,
like, I'd
cool.
go to Suncoast. I'd go to all these stores where they'd have all these videos and it'd be like $30 to have one. And I would be like, I'm going to circle back to that. And so, 10 years later, I'm working at a video store and I'm buying all the ones that, they were out of my, allowance price range.
Oh yeah.
So that happened. And then I worked, as a manager at Blockbuster. I worked at Hollywood Video. I worked at this other little thing. And by the way, like I said, some of my best, fondest memories are at these
Oh,
places. Oh my
same.
God.
Yeah, yeah.
And then what happened is that recently, I would say right about in 2014, a bunch of like underground video distributors, and I'm talking really underground. Like I had a membership to one of them called Uneasy Archives, and
Ooh.
they would basically put together like you'd get a poster, you get a pin, you'd get, and these were, some of them were porn that were never released properly. So it just depended. Some of them are very gory, category 3.
Was it like a loot box for VHS?
Yes, these guys on the East Coast, they went under different aliases. Would
Nice. I love
Yeah,
the
it was like,
clandestine
Yeah,
aspect
yeah,
of
it
it.
was on Facebook, and one of them was called Uneasy Archives, then King of the Witches, and then Massacre Video, and then a bunch of other ones just started cropping up where they would re-release things that were very hard to find. So you wouldn't have to pay $300 for a certain tape.
Oh,
You
cool.
could pay 25 and a membership and get like a special. They put them in those clams that we love that were all wrinkly.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my God. And people just ate these up. And then one out of the 20 clams would be a pink clamshell.
Oh, wow.
So people wanted the pink. All these little companies started cropping up. And when that happened, the VHS boom started again.
Oh, wow.
So from 2014 to about, I would say just recently, to fund one of my movies, I resold a bunch of Uneasy Archive tapes for like
wow.
hundreds of dollars.
Wow.
That's awesome.
That must have broke your heart, though.
Oh my God. Yeah, I kept most of them, but I had this friend of mine, he's a collector, his name is Vincent. He lives in I want to say Pennsylvania. He bought a ton of mine, and he preserves them. And yeah, it kills me. Like when I think about it, I'm just like, and so when I have a little bit of money, I try to go back and get them, but they're very scarce on the internet. And they also don't go for as much money when they do sell. But anyway, this resurgence, this boom has just happened again. And I'm like so excited that people were all into VHS tapes again.
Oh, yeah. Streaming is cool, and it's amazing to get everything beamed into your house in 2 seconds and 2 milliseconds.
Yeah.
But I love physical media. I used to love heading down to Best Buy or whatever on Tuesdays and picking up whatever the new releases are, and then opening up the tape and popping it in and, all the stuff. It was just like, it was so cool. Or taking a walk to Blockbuster and picking out those movies, and you bring home 3 movies and a pizza, and that's your.
Yeah.
Oh God, you're talking about the glory days, and that
Exactly.
the way the video slid out of a slipcase.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just nothing like it.
Or that pop of opening up the Blockbuster.
Oh,
you
yeah.
know? And
we just don't have that kind of community anymore.
No. And it's like everything now is binging, and I watch pretty much everything by myself. Like Adam and I try to find one thing, that we can watch together
at least once a week. Yeah.
But it's like mostly it's just, it's become such a solitary thing where like the VHS, it was all about your buddies or, your girlfriend or boyfriend, and you would, go and get a tape and get some dinner and, watch
a movie.
Yeah, exactly, man. I just miss renting movies.
Yeah.
I do too, and like talking to people, I mean,
yes.
As a manager at Blockbuster, I would like sit there and like I would take them through the aisles, and like people were all like into like being at a place, and that was like the temple to movies.
Yes.
And then you gave them something, they brought it back. I mean, you had this, it's a relationship. It's like, I heard Rob Zombie recently talking on a podcast about how we would all tune into the radio. And it would be like a big deal when a single would be released. We would all be there together as a global community.
Yeah. And then music videos on MTV after that. And then, I mean, I remember when I was working in the video store, I took recommendations extremely seriously. Like, I would not, I wouldn't be like, oh, you should watch Flubber because that's what we're pushing today. And it would be like, here, watch The Point. This is a really crazy, animated movie, Harry Nilsson or whatever. It's like, you try to find something to match that person. So when they do bring the movie back, they're like, yo, Jimbo, that was awesome. What else do you recommend? Or, Jules, that was great.
Yes,
I love your,
yes.
there was so much pride at picking the right movie for the right person.
Absolutely. And there's nothing like it. And I feel like I wish, and I don't want to be a Debbie Downer, but like when I watch Netflix, it's not like a world premiere of anything.
No.
I think the closest we have is Joe Bob Briggs, who, we can all watch him together if you happen to be catching him because it is live on a Friday night. I mean,
and it's like very VHS-y, all of his Joe Bob Briggs, is crazy cinema.
I wish that we could, again, be a part of something that was happening in real time. Like instead of, oh yeah, let me get to this.
Yeah.
Like everyone told me to watch, The Serpent on Netflix.
Right.
So I'm going to watch it.
Right.
I'm not saying it's not good, but I mean, there's no community really there.
I think this whole thing about no physical media is going to bite us in the ass, first of all, because when the power apocalypse comes, babies, and you got to put your generators on, we're the people that are going to be able to be entertained with our VHS and our
and cranking the VHS.
When the grid goes down, baby. I know. And then everybody says that, but they're like, the grid ain't going down. I mean, I told that to someone. I go, well, you best believe, because I had this fight with
Tell that to Texas.
I had this fight with like a non VHS collector who was like, "That's just stupid. Like I mean, there's no reason to collect VHS. Like, stop it. Like, I know." And he was like, "I just signed up for this new streaming platform." He's like, "You really need to sign up for this." And I'm like, I got them all on VHS. He's like, "Well, VHS." He's like, "You have to like get up. You got to put it in." I was like,
"How lazy are you?"
Exactly.
I have to walk 5 feet to my VCR? What?
What if I break my thumb pushing it in?
It's like it's all on a cloud. Like, don't you just want it all in one place? And I was thinking, okay, so if the grid does go down, and he was like, oh my God, that's just never going to happen. But listen, this is the problem that I have with a lot of these streaming services. They curate for you, and they don't have their entire collection available all at once.
No.
So if you go to HBO, it's like 50 films. It's not...
And they rotate.
500.
Yeah.
Yes. It's not like 500,000.
Exactly. I mean, doing this show, we try to watch, we did Beverly Hills Cop, and so we're trying to watch, we need to watch the movie or whatever. And so it's like, okay, what streaming service is it on now?
Yeah.
And then, I think we pulled the DVD for that one. I'd much rather Ghostbusters we watched on DVD, which was so much fun to pull that physical media out and be like, go through the goofy menus that they put. It's like it's the same thing. It's just like that physical media. I think it's really detrimental, because physical media is something like you can bring a movie to somebody's house.
Yeah.
And be like, I want to show this to you, or I want to loan this to you, and then they have this physical presence where it's staring them in the face. They're like, okay, finally, I'll watch it, or you could be like, if you watch it, bring it back. It's like it's much more exactly what you were saying. If you're like, hey, watch, Mayor of Easttown, it's not the same as like, here's the VHS of Mayor of Easttown, pop it in, baby.
I was always that jerk that would make my friends sit in my car and listen to tapes.
Yeah.
I was like, you have to hear this. You have to. And then they'd sit there for 40 minutes and be like, why are you making us do this?
Or they'd fall in love with what you were doing.
And they would. Yeah, that's true.
It's so true. And, my goal is to like have a space where we could have, because with the VHS swap meets, they were doing it at lethal amounts in LA. It's this little space, and like all of us came with our tapes to swap them out, and it's so cool because people will show up and they'll trade you, and you'll be like, oh my god, you have that, and I'll give you this, and people will just have so many crazy tapes that you've never seen, some that you've seen a bazillion times. And the last one, you guys know what the last one was, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
History of Violence, 2006.
Yep.
Great movie.
Yes.
Such a good movie.
And so that's like the touchstones of all collectors are like, got to have that history of violence. I mean, not everybody like even likes that movie, but like we all know that it was the last one.
It's
like,
a good
it's
movie.
A big deal.
It's very violent.
Oh yeah, I love
it's a good movie. I love
it.
But the thing is that you're right. There's something so great about something tangible and something that you have to have a relationship with. I have no relationship with. I mean, yes, I scroll and scroll and scroll looking for a movie. I don't even know. I think this is like an epidemic, like the scrolling.
Yeah.
I think some of us just scroll and we don't even have a destination.
No, totally.
No, but I think I think we were collectors as kids. We collected baseball cards or action figures or, whatever it was. But I don't know, do the kids today collect stuff? Because it just seems like everything is online or, What do the kids do
they
today,
collect
Jules?
NFTs.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Woo.
Non-fungible tokens.
Yay.
Yep, they collect those.
I love holding those in my hands.
It's just everything they collect is on their phones. I
Yeah,
sound
so
like
it's
such an
not
old man.
collectible.
Selfies. That's what they collect. Yeah.
Yeah, they collect self-esteem, and I like reality, Jules, and reality are
I
videotapes.
do too, and I like holding money. I like holding a
I love holding money.
But that's so old. That's so old school.
I think there's room for both. I think there's room to have things available to everyone in a certain way, and I think that there's room for people to collect things of a quality that brings them back to a place that makes them feel safe and happy.
I think there's going to be a larger growth of physical media because I think the youngest generation right now is going to be turning against the digital and wanting to get back to the physical stuff.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to hear that. I'm the person that was like, I want to just have the complete VHS collection forever.
Your heart belongs to the VHS.
Right. So it's like you can come up with something. It'll never sway me. But
Nice.
I see a lot of people that have jumped ship every time something better has come. And that's okay. And so I've always tried to think of the good in all those different trends because I know how people are and what they go for. Even though I'm going to be loyal to the VHS tape because for me, it's like, I want that collection that I wanted when I was, 12.
Yeah.
I don't want the collection that I want, when I'm 60. I want I'm like, God, guys, I'm still trying to get to where I was when I was 12 years old with all the, Friday the 13th on Paramount.
That's awesome. I'm going to ask you one last question, and I don't even know if you have an answer for this. But what is your favorite of all of your tapes?
Oh, man.
Is it like picking your children?
Oh my God. Okay. Let me just, I'm so glad that you asked this because no, it's a really, so I'm going to tell you the one that I watch the most.
Okay.
So I have 2 Christmas Evils,
Ooh.
that are, they're the original and, those are sealed, and one is called Terror in Toyland, and that was one of the AKAs for.
Oh, nice!
Oh, wow!
So those two, they stay by themselves, and I do not touch them. And I love that movie. It's John Waters' favorite Christmas movie. I think it's probably my favorite Christmas movie. And so anyway, I've got Terror in Toyland and Christmas Evil. They're sitting there somewhere very nice in their shrink wrap, and they're beautiful, by the way.
I bet they
And
are.
they both go for over $100 in my condition.
Nice.
But the VHS tape that I watch the most is probably the CBS Fox Aliens.
Oh, yes, yes.
So it's James Cameron's Aliens on the big, it's not the big box, it's the slipcase CBS Fox.
Okay.
So I probably watch that more than any other of my VHS tapes.
Interesting.
And, I mean, it's really worn out, and there's this quality to it. I mean, I just love it. It makes me feel, it's like somebody putting on their favorite Sunday morning vinyl album.
Yeah.
It like just makes me, it's got that.
It's your VHS slippers.
Yeah, and it's like staticky, and like, when she wakes up from the terrible dream, and Paul Reiser's there, and there's like, it's so worn out. Yeah, and it looks like before we would color correct something in digital world, like before you put a LUT on,
and the tracking's kind of off. And
yes, and it's
there's
just
like little stuff in the corners, little noise, little film noise.
And the music where it goes, it's like has that, like, not delay, but like when it moves from one scene to the next, there's that.
Yeah. Yes.
I'm like, I'm in love. I'm in love with this VHS tape, and
it's
I always put it in.
Yeah.
Yes, and so it is Aliens, but there are so many others in my collection that I love.
Thank you so much for being with us, Jules. What's really cool about this is we're going to air this on June 8th, and June 7th is National VCR Day.
Oh my God, that is so cool. Yeah. So you're going to commemorate it, and I'm a proud parent of a VHS collection.
Yeah, and a proud parent of many VCRs. You're like an Irish Catholic family full of VCRs.
I know. I've got 4 working right now. I've got 5 total, but 4 are like working, and it's my dream to have VCR in every room.
Oh yeah!
Wow!
Well,
wow, that's awesome.
I'm sure you can make that dream come true. We're gonna have you back, Jules, because you're an amazing
guest.
Please,
if you guys ever do Kickboxer, I'm there.
100%.
Well, then we'll do it. We'll put it up on the board.
Yeah. Van Damme Kickboxer, please. It's a rediscovered love affair I'm having.
Awesome.
Wham bam! Thank you, Van Damme.
And maybe we'll talk about how I lost my virginity at a Blockbuster. Maybe that will be good
our After Dark show.
That's amazing.
You're the best, Jules.
Thanks so much for coming. Thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. And, hug your VCR today.
We will. Oh, man. Jules is amazing.
It's so good to hear someone be so passionate about something.
Yes. That's my favorite thing about having guests is we have these guests that just know so much more than we do.
Yeah. It's amazing. I just can't stop smiling. Like, it's just like, it's so good to hear. Yeah.
It really, honestly, makes me want to whip out the VCR and pop in some tapes, especially some horror tapes.
So in 2000, DVD became the first universally successful optical medium for playback. There was a bunch of others.
That's a mouthful.
Thing. Thank you. And it gradually overtook VHS because DVD recorders and digital video recorders got really cheap.
Yeah, the manufacturing process and the manufacturing cost of DVDs was so much less than
you could mass
VHS
produce
tapes.
Yeah, exactly. Although VHS rentals did hold on until June of 2003 when DVD rentals finally overtook it.
Yeah, well, there's always going to be that overlap of hangers-oners and also adopting early technology is really expensive. Yeah. I remember around that time, a bunch of my buddies, we were all turning 30, so we were doing like these group presents, and we all pitched in and bought this friend of ours a DVD player, and it was like $500 or $600.
Oh wow! Yeah. They were expensive. I remember the first DVD player I bought, I think, was almost $200, but it was definitely around that time.
My first was Divx because the guy was like, "You got to get Divx, dude. Divx is the way of the future." And then it's like nobody. I don't even know what Divx was really.
So the declining market, combined with a US FCC mandate, which essentially was saying that new TV tuners had to include the broadband spectrum, like to pull in like the HD.
Yeah.
Which that's a whole other thing. I was actually working at a TV station at the time, and it was literally just a way for the government to make money.
Yeah.
But whatever. But because of that, most companies stopped producing VHS players.
Yeah?
At least standalone VHS players. They still made DVDs and VCR like combos.
Those were cool.
And eventually VCR Blu-ray combos. But they're very hard to find now.
Yeah, yes. And I think the last VCR was it Funai?
Funai, yeah.
The Funai Electric
Korean
of Japan,
company, I think? Yeah.
Japanese
Japan,
company.
yeah.
And it was made in June of 2016.
That's crazy.
Which is
Still
why
think that
June 7th is National VCR Day, by the way.
That's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. I didn't know that.
And do you know what the most successful VHS tape of all time was?
Was it not Jerry Maguire?
No, it was not Jerry Maguire. It was The Lion King.
Oh, really? Okay.
Sold 32 million copies, made $520 million, half a billy,
crazy.
just from the
That is
VHS tape.
crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, in high school. I worked at a Kmart, and I worked in the electronics department, and it was. I mean, Disney was a big thing because they did the whole like Volt thing.
Oh yeah,
It was,
it's brilliant. The whole and that's why they're worth so much. You can get like a Mulan goes for like $11,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's
good copy, yeah.
crazy. So VHS is great. Obviously, there's still people that still use it. There's still people that love it.
One of my favorite things, and I used to go to, like the animation festival and stuff back in the 80s and 90s, but they would also do found footage festivals where people would just find these VHS tapes that they get like find in a VCR when they picked it up at the Goodwill and it was just some of the creepiest, weird. Because it was just like, people's videotape of like a baby, and then the baby's just like, bleh!
Yeah.
But I still, to this day, love going to those because it's just like a creepy treasure trove of people's private lives.
People are weird, yeah.
It's like when they used to do, you could buy unclaimed film, and you would get those processed, and you would find a random thing, and you would be like, oh, it's peeking into somebody's life. It was so cool.
I went to one of those in college, and I still have a VHS tape of something a guy gave to me. It was a movie, quote unquote movie that he made.
Yeah.
And I literally watched the first like 2 minutes and I stopped because it was like 4 hours long and it was so weird.
Yeah. I'm talking real found footage, not like these faux documentary found footage. But we're not going to get those because, unless people find it on the cloud because there's no physical
it's just not going to happen anymore.
Tapes or anything for people to come across. It's like, I came across grandma's smartphone and, her face was gone, so we couldn't get into it. It's just, we're not going to have that neat kind of... just that weird stuff that comes with physical media, the weird the nooks and crannies that make it so nostalgic and fun to get back into.
Yeah, there is something to be said about getting up from your chair and putting in a VHS tape.
I mean, I remember the first VCR we had, the remote was corded.
Yeah, same. It was just a tiny little silver corded thing that had a cord that was like 40 feet long. And I was like, I was like 6 and I was like, Dad, why is this so long?
Your mom's in the kitchen.
Yeah,
she's like, we're fast forward
hitting
through these
play.
movies. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
It's not for you.
Well, thanks for listening. VHS is awesome. If you have a chance, get a VCR.
Yes.
Find some old VHS tapes because
you could get it. You could.
Amazing.
You're talking about a $50 in for like a VCR and like a bunch of tapes, and that's giving you a bunch of tapes. So it's like we're thinking about in the Gen X headquarters putting together a little lo-fi tube area with our VHS and 8 bits. We'll let you know how it goes.
Thanks for listening, and get your machine. Your machine. Wow.
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming. She's the Sheriff, already in progress.